Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
Photography for me is memories. I'm saving memories that I can reflect on.
I'm more of it being evidence, in case if I'm called in court or, if, somebody accuses me of something else. See, I got a picture.
What are you hiding, man? Rox and Charles, thank you for joining me on the podcast. Really nice to meet you. Are you a couple or are you just working together?
So we've worked together in various businesses. We are co-authors.
Okay.
And his bride actually edits our work. So we're not a couple, but we're co-authors.
Yeah, she's also the godmother for my youngest daughter. So,
okay.
Our families have had a long association.
Welcome to the podcast. This is great.
Thank you.
Let's dive into the first photo, and I'm super excited. Okay, so where is your room?
No, we're in Dallas right now.
Ah, so you're in Texas.
Yeah.
Present. There's this delightful couple behind bars. Both are holding on to it looks like a cell of some sort. It looks like you're in a cave, not necessarily an industrial proper prison. Yes, you're both kind of holding onto the bars. You're, Rox, you're looking to your right, while Charles, you're just pointing to your left. So, I don't know, you're kind of saying it's her fault, and she's like, what are you talking about?
You asked us about earlier, why do we take photos? I had evidence to say, it's not me, man. It's not me, okay?
Okay, so why start with this photo? What's your story?
That was a really fun photo, and we haven't used it before anywhere that we have been. And it was done when let me step back. We do a cruise every year with a bunch of authors, and it's called Publishing at Sea.
Huh.
And we have shops, and then we go to various places as normal ships stop, in various ports. This particular cruise also stopped in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
This is an old, actual barracks cell that was part of the fort. I think that was there. And they actually opened it so we could do that photo.
Yeah. It was a Spanish garrison that Spaniards had parked there to be able to basically raid the local island for all the goods that they could make, and protect it from the British. So we got to go through it, really a claustrophobic exercise, going through the tunnels inside the garrison, because and they had, it was unbelievable of all the neat stuff that was. They had booby traps that were like 300-400 years old. I mean, it's like, wow. I mean, these guys were really something.
And we decided we didn't want to do anything illegal because we never wanted to be behind bars in a foreign country. Like ever.
Okay, well, so I'm just trying to wrap my mind around who you two are, and then there's the photograph, and then there's this idea of publishing or writing at sea, which is, because writing is such a personal solo, typically, as far as I think of it, is a solo exercise, let alone, and I've had another guest on the podcast who works with another writer, but they weren't together on the podcast, but they co-authored their books. So how did you land as co-authors?
Well, it's a fairly lengthy story, but
Leave out the vowels. Just go for it.
Leave out the vowels. I can speed through this pretty quickly in the description. We started writing technical manuals for our high-tech company we worked for back in the years. What we found was that the writing of technical manuals was very unsatisfying, because as soon as it's done, it's out of date.
Right.
So that's why you see edition 2, edition 3, edition 200, try to keep it current. So I got mad, stomped off, picked up all my marbles and said, I ain't doing this no more. Rox was unconvinced. So she did a hardcore press and did some idea searching and came to me and said, "How about we do fiction
Wow.
with with a technical background to it, so we get to pitch some of the goodies that we understand and like."
I actually brought, like, I don't know, the first 10 chapters of the first book and said, why don't you chew on this for a while? Because in this book, we can kill people and we don't have to go to jail.
Uh, okay, wait. You guys are both a little bit bent. Okay, are you saying that you should be in jail? Is that
Oh,
like
no,
a?
no, 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 no.
Are you saying that there's a little fantasy thing going on about being in jail? I don't know. This is the
No,
photo
the
you
fantasy,
sent.
staying out of jail.
Okay,
is probably-
okay, okay. I love it.
We're just a little goofy. And the other reason for that particular photograph is because we have an underlying layer in our thrillers of technology.
Okay,
And we do worry that people overall are held hostage by their technology.
okay, I get that. Sure.
And we don't want them to be.
Okay. What area of technical writing were you stuck in?
So we worked for several manufacturers in the same company and in different companies. And we would write technical manuals about what the manufacturers were putting forth in the marketplace. So we've worked for, Nortel, we worked for Cisco, Hewlett Packard, some together in some companies and then totally not together in other companies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And were you friends before you worked together?
No, I actually hired Charles for a job
Okay.
at one of the companies that we worked at together. I hired him to be my boss.
Okay, okay, interesting. Are you both originally from Texas?
I am.
Okay. And where are you from, Rox?
Well, and I made sure that Roxanne was naturalized here in Texas, so
Oh.
it's yeah. So she can call herself Texan. That's good.
I'm originally from California.
Okay, got it. And so are these pen names or I don't know, like this is what's great. Like I'm just discovering you, and so
Oh, nice.
it's very quirky because part of I think the hook of the podcast is just through a conversation unboxing this amazing relationship and how you work. So you write books together. I've picked up that much. Fiction,
Yes.
thrillers. How many books are we talking here?
The current series itself has 12 books in the series.
Ah, amazing, amazing.
And then we have 9 short stories that are kind of like backstories.
Got it.
And then 2 novellas that are on the periphery.
Okay. And you're saying the sort of the undercurrent is always some kind of technological
Threat.
A threat.
Yeah.
A threat. So the very first book, as an example, Rand, is identity theft.
Right.
So it's kind of the underlaying, in the old days you would do the cowboys in the white hats versus the villains in the black hats, and that was how the good guys against the bad. Well, we do the cyber heroes against the cyber thugs.
Got it.
Different hats.
Okay. How many languages have your books been translated into?
English.
Oh, it's been translated to English from American. That's amazing.
No, I totally understand, but no, they're only in English, but they are also in Audible.
Nice.
Audiobook.
Nice. So let's say somebody who's listening and is we want them to go to right to find who you are in the marketplace. What do they look up?
We'd recommend you go to our website and prowl, because we've got a wealth of information. It's enigmaseries.com.
Okay.
That's the website, and then within that we have video trailers for each one of the books to kind of give you a flavor for what the kind of technical threat that book centers on.
That's great.
I want to make sure I articulate this correctly, Rand. We do write each one of these books so you can enjoy them separately.
Yeah.
So you don't have to read the whole series, but honestly, they are richer if they're read in order.
Got it.
The characters develop. They grow up. They have problems. The new technical threats. Everything changes over time. So we try to capture that in the story thread.
So one of the guests I had on the podcast, she writes a book every 6 months. Like she has such a production approach and such a team that helps her do it. And I know book publishing. Like that's kind of part of my career. And I understand that from the book publisher's perspective, they want to have very strict definitions of the type of author you are, the type of story you write. So there are no surprises to the market that's buying you, I guess. So do you play with different genres, or do you pretty much, are you more strict in terms of like it's thriller and that's it?
So you've met us now. We've known each other for a whole 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say we do not fit into neat little packages.
Great.
So the Enigma series are thrillers with a technology underlayment.
Mm-hmm.
The short stories are different genres.
Okay.
The two novellas are different. One is a historical fiction based in 1939, and the other one is a cozy mystery based in Texas in 2022.
Okay. So you collaborated professionally for a long time, I assume a long time. And then you thought, you know what, let's go into fiction. So how long ago was that you went into the sort of the...
About 9 years ago.
About 10 years now.
About 10 years ago.
Oh, nice. So as we're talking, it's really funny. It's really funny. I've got both of you lightly sitting together in what looks like a dining room of some sort. Behind you, it's I can just see like little shelves, and you're seated kind of warmly together, t-shirts. And on the right is a black and white photo of you behind bars in, kind of like an old looking jail. And it was kind of like both looking equally young, they're roughly the same age. So it's really peculiar. It's like, okay, left is out of jail, right is in jail, or vice versa. It's like, okay, it's a very funny juxtaposition. Anything else you want to say about that photo?
No, we just wanted to have fun, and we
Nice.
wanted to, we just thought it would be a different kind of thing to talk about.
Sure. It's a good way to start a conversation. Great. In this photograph, it's color. You're both standing together in what could be, maybe it's still in the same trip. I don't know. Maybe you're in a Central South America place, or maybe you're in Spain, for all I know. It looks like there are cobblestones in the background. You're in the foreground. Charles, you're wearing a very nice yellow, I guess, Hawaiian shirt. Roxanne, yeah, you're wearing a kind of a light blue blouse. Looking at the photographer, what's the event or the moment here?
That was a total exploration of a little village, a quaint little village with a whole lot of color. So, it's every house was a different color. So they weren't rich, expensive homes. They were modest, but the color was just vivid everywhere. It was just fun.
In Dallas?
No, it actually wasn't. It was actually in
San Juan.
It was in Puerto Rico too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How often do you guys go traveling together?
We've done 3 of these publishing at sea cruises. So they're like a 7-day cruise where while you're at sea, you sit in workshops, and we've actually delivered a couple of workshops for some of the other authors. And the rest of the time you're free to go explore if you want to when the boat's in port.
Mm-hmm. And the ship, it's basically populated with other authors, so you get to sort of feed off each other, or it's...
So the ship itself is populated with a whole lot of 2,000 of our closest friends.
Oh.
But the actual workshop is usually between 20 and 30 people.
Okay. So what kind of... Give me an example of one of the workshops that you gave.
So one of the workshops that we gave last year was the elements that are needed to consider whether you want to put together a trilogy or a series, and how you would do that, how you would construct that, and how you might alter it if you started out in one direction and went a different direction. So we did one on that, and we also did one on Metaverse.
What do you mean by Metaverse? Yeah.
Metaverse is a new term emerging, Rand, and basically what it is, it's a part of it is already here, and some of it is still evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So the piece parts that you would imagine is that there's a storytelling event, obviously, but maybe have do a mashup with a gaming company, so that you create is you have an on-ramp for readers to join in a more immersive, collaborative environment using augmented reality, the goggles and seeing some of the graphics come to life in 3D, some of the rendering from some of the high-powered graphic chips that are available, and available anywhere on the internet because that's where it'd be served up as a cloud-based application. So if you're a writer like yourself and you come up with this, swell, fantasy vision for, I'm going to pull together all my troops and we're going to go, slay this dragon and the dragons are, they're flying and you can see and you maybe experience a three-dimensional version of what was going on rather than just reading it on paper. The other attributes to go along with that would be how do you make money as an author on that, and that's where you get into some of the interesting attributes. And we don't have time to cover all of it, but it's like the cryptocurrency, the net fungible tokens, creating your own universe, if you will, to invite people into. So we see that as an evolution of storytelling. Around the fireplace to the printed word to the audible to an immersive thing that feels 3D while you're.
And it could change the story direction.
Sure.
So if you wanted to be the main character and you want to do something a little different, you could actually, in theory, change the story direction.
Right. So do you remember those books, Choose Your Own Adventures?
Uh-huh.
Right? So in a sense, you're kind of fracturing the narrative quite a bit. And how much of what you're proposing or what you talk about or what you've done is more akin to writing a screenplay than it is to writing a proper classic novel?
Quite a bit. There's a lot of parallels to that. I mean, we've done some screenplays ourselves. Not quite as satisfying for us as storytellers because it's a very rigid discipline from our point of view. So my hat's off to anybody that says they're a screenwriter. Like, okay, good for you, because I'm not as accomplished at it as I'd like to be.
So we're more of a full on novel kind of writing as opposed to a screenplay type. And I have read books that were done as screenplays, and it's always got the screen direction. The lights go up, the lights go down. That's not how we do that. That's not how we.
What is your process in terms of? I assume you come up with a story almost like co-directors of a movie, and so you're coming up with a plot or whatever. But who sits down and actually does the typing?
So we come up with an idea, just like you say, and we talk about the characters that are going to be in it, and then we rough out the different chapters that we believe are going to start out. And we usually only do 15 to 20 chapter rough outs at a time, and we collaborate and talk when we do that.
Okay.
And then each of us are assigned a chapter.
Oh.
And so he writes one, I write one, and so forth. And then we bring them together and smooth the voices.
Right.
That way, the objective is that you shouldn't be able to say, oh, Charles read this one or did this one. Rox did that one. I can tell because of styles. We go to an extreme amount of work to make sure that it's polished so you can't tell where that idea came from. And so it's very much a part of our patent pending technique called literary badminton. Okay.
Amazing. What is the most so far, because it's a relationship of creating these kinds of books that is more than a decade now. Was there ever a moment where you guys were like, no, there was like, you just disagreed with each other and thought, okay, this is just not, I wouldn't say that there was conflict, but that there was an active disagreement about direction.
On a story?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. We count this week, or you want to count for the whole time?
No, just pick the one that's the craziest, where knives came out.
Oh, we don't do knives, but
okay.
I think that the craziest one where we had a disagreement was where we actually shelved the whole story.
Oh, wow.
For 5 months? Close to 5 months. It just it was too sensitive a thing. It was like, okay, we're just not going to write this one. We'll write something else.
Right.
And so that now it's coming. It's going to come back.
Okay. How do you feel about your subconscious informing how you make decisions?
Well, a lot of times what will happen is that I'll wake up like I did this morning. I go, I know what I want for that ending.
Yeah.
I know where I want to take it. The characters are telling me this is what we need to say. This is what we have to do. A lot of times that's where that inspiration will come into place. It's like, now I know how to be able to repair what, I positioned poorly.
Right.
That's the kind of subliminal stuff that percolates all the time.
Sure.
Through my existence.
Or we get up and we say, oh gosh, I know I'm supposed to do this chapter, but this is what has to be done. So we write something totally unrelated to where, quote unquote, we should be in our spreadsheet, because we keep everything in a spreadsheet.
I love it.
And so sometimes we'll write something that's really good, but it doesn't belong anywhere yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we may end up pushing it down to where it does belong. Or we have been known to write to it. If it was that fun that we want it included, we'll write to it.
The record on that one was taking it from chapter 2 to chapter 50.
Okay, sure. I mean, look, it's writing in a way. It's always, I don't want to say cut and paste, but it's construction, right? So, of course.
Exactly. We do cut and paste, though, because everything is done, electronically.
Sure. Is there a pattern in terms of, if we're to say that you're archetypes, right? So, not to say yin and yang, but if there are patterns of personality, are you both like-minded and that's why you work well together? Are you kind of opposites attract sort of thing and that's why you work well together? So why do you work well together?
It's sort of like being in a boat. And each of us has an oar.
Okay.
And if we're pulling together, and we head in a single direction, and if one of us is overamping, then we tend to go in, off to one side or in circles. So it's not uncommon to be able to say, well, wait a minute, we were aimed this way. How about can you find me, break out the compass, Charles?
Is there an engineer between the both of you?
We're both engineers, technically.
Ah, okay. What kind of engineering?
Well, it's software engineering, so, technology stuff.
Okay.
I'm a solution architect for voice and data networks. I've worked on global accounts, again, for multiple companies, British Telecom. So all that kind of stuff, that's the day job, and that's where we get to see some of the technical challenges that show up. Threat, the things that are like, man, the wheels fell off this one. Look at this. We can use this for a story.
You're both full-time workers with day jobs, and as a side job, you're putting together this, and it's called the Enigma Series?
Yeah.
Respect. How little do you sleep per night? 3 hours, 4 hours?
No, I mean, it's not. We have good jobs and we like our jobs. We used to actually write faster than we do now. But it's funny, since COVID, work in technology fields has actually gotten more demanding, I think would be a fair term. And so I'm a morning writer. I get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I write until it's time to go to work.
Oh, wow. And Charles?
I like to write in the morning too. And then when that doesn't work, I'll basically clear my calendar off and just, I work on two machines, one for corporate, one for personal.
Right.
And so if somebody wants something, I work on it. I'll switch over that and do that. But I give them this thread of, okay, I want another chapter. Give me another, polish this one. This isn't ready for prime time. And this one isn't clearly ready for Roxanne to look at. So it's build that synergy, the energy to be able to work at a particular time. And I can do it, but I prefer the morning.
So let's rewind the tape a little bit. Roxanne, what were you like as a kid? Like, why choose writing, and how far back does that go?
Writing for me goes back to, the teenage years when poetry and flowers and, art was just filling the air of a teenager, so the writing went back to then. But I was kind of a determined little kid. and a nonconformist. I
Still.
I believe you 100%.
I'm one of those kids that had to have two different color socks no matter what my outfit looked like. It just, no matter what my mother protested. So, that's how I kind of came across.
Okay. And Charles?
It's sort of a peculiar story. In high school, they said, we want you to build a business, and we're going to go ahead and show you how real corporations work. You'll issue stock, and we hit on the idea of being a publishing newspaper.
Oh, okay.
And what happened was that it ended up with a lot more social comment in it than what everybody liked, and it turned into an underground newspaper quite by mistake. But I guess I got the taste for being that the person that comments on what I see. This is my life. These are the things that I see going on, and I want to be able to explore it. And I want to have people look at it and say, I hadn't seen that.
Okay. And then he created a comic book store.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we were wholesale distributors for Marvel Comics, DC Comics, in the last half of the last century. Okay,
No fighting now. No fighting.
No, we're not fighting. It's not. No, we did a great job with it. I've seen pictures of.
Yeah, the bookstore that I built and sold is still there.
Oh, amazing.
They had their 30th anniversary and they were, popping champagne and my brother drove by and he goes, I cannot believe it's still there, Charles.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Let's take that as the perfect segue to go on to the next photo, shall we?
Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds fun.
It's nice because you have people photographing you together. Now it's very kind of officious. Charles is wearing a nice shirt. He's got a pen in his pocket, wearing a nice sort of jacket. Hair trimmed very nicely. Rox, you're wearing a very nice kind of blouse as well with a nice necklace. The background is blurry. It looks like it could be a cityscape, I guess, or a garden. Not much to go on. So what am I looking at here?
So that was actually on the same cruise. On these cruises, when we do publishing at sea, there is a photographer that goes with the group, so that we can get, different kinds of photos that authors can use for all kinds of photos.
Makes sense, yeah.
As opposed to, an iPhone kind of photo. So that particular one was dressing for dinner with the captain's table.
Oh, nice.
And so we were trying to look nice, and there's a glass. It was actually a glass kind of sculpting that's behind us that was reflecting the sun. So it was on the deck.
That's on the ship.
Yeah.
Oh wow! It looks like a sort of cityscape garden because there's a big tree in the background. Okay, nice.
That's exactly what it is. They have their own on board in the ship Central Park with actual live trees and glass, and of course little bistros that you can stroll up and get your favorite adult beverage or coffee or whatever it is, and it quite remarkable, and it made a tremendous setting from what you're describing.
Well, it's a great photo. So how do we turn this into this portrait into something that will uplift a listener to say like, hey, I can go into writing. I can work with your work associates and colleagues, and then that kind of just evolved into book writing. So was there a moment when, was it just the intuition of, oh, you know what, how about we try this?
So in our work, in our professional careers, I like I had told you, I originally hired him and we worked together for a while. Then I went to another company and then he went to another company. And then we ended up back in yet another company, but we were in the same company. And we started doing workshops and teaching others how to use certain kinds of technology.
Okay.
And so we would travel around and do workshops for different people so that they would learn whatever the product was, how to use it, how to install it correctly, all that technical mumbo jumbo kind of stuff. So we did that. And in doing that, we had to create the whole presentation for it. We had to deliver it. all of that sort of thing. So we found out that we could work together and we could have a conversation at different levels.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been in a room, I'm sure, many times with lots of different people, and you may relate very, very well to part of the audience that's in that room, whatever part that is. Because we were both delivering the workshops, we could help that whole issue by he could relate to some of the people very, very well, and I could relate to the other people very, very well, so we could make sure we could convey the information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I guess that's sort of a wake-up call for us saying, we are professionals. We can do this, and it's not just writing just a hobby or a pastime that's like I got nothing else to do and I can wear stretch pants if I want to, but it's also a professional approach to, and it's a mindset. If you see yourself as a professional and what you're doing has a good outreach for people to be able to say, I respect that. I can respect what you're saying. I may not agree with, but I see that you've taken this on as a professional attitude. I think I need to do that too. And that ups your game. It makes you feel like I can do this. I can do it better. And we challenge ourselves all the time. That's what the workshop come into play. Teach me something new. Show me something where I thought I was doing well, but maybe I need a little more help.
Sure.
A professional would accept that kind of input. And that's the other side of that coin. We want to be professionals in everything we do.
Name a time when there was an unexpected response from your readers to the work that you did. Because it's one thing to create the work, but in a way, it's really created by the receiver. So, you make the thing, you put it out into the world, and who knows how the world accepts it, whatever. But name a time when the response really took you by surprise.
I can answer that one. We had a reviewer one time. We have a lot of evil characters. You got to have some evil, and of course with the good. But we had one that was particularly unusual in his outlook and his demeanor. And the reviewer picked up on it, and he goes, I didn't want to like that character. But I felt sorry for him. I couldn't help myself. And I went, oh, wow. That was the best compliment I ever heard about a character, because it gave him something that was, he was torn between. Right. Here's a guy, he's a freebooter, but I felt sorry for him.
Right.
I felt sorry for the circumstances that he was written into. So it was a very satisfying comment.
Was there a moment like that as well for you where you thought, oh, wait a second, that's surprising?
So there was. And it was another comment from somebody who kind of follows the series. And we had a character that was, she had a tough life. And she was in some ways very repulsive and somebody you didn't want to relate to. And she was always, messing with people. And she was a bad guy. She was totally a bad, evil cyber thug, as it were. But in the stories, we decided for some reason, she kept talking to us saying, well, I was bad, but I don't want to be bad anymore. I want to be good. And so we evolved her and put her into a situation where she could, in fact, redeem herself.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody that had followed us had commented and goes, I have hated this character and hated this character for 4 books. Now I have to like her.
Oh, great. That's great. Well, so how much of what you do is consciously manipulative?
I don't know that we do consciously manipulative. Other than hiding different threads in the stories.
A lot of times, Rand, it's the character telling us what they want to do. It sounds silly when you say it like that.
Nope.
But it's like, I'll get up one morning, I'll start writing on something. It's like the character's like, no, send me this way.
Right.
Here's what the story threads needs, and that's what the character
wants.
Yeah. It just it's that simple. So manipulative, no, because we're storytellers. This is what the story.
So
needs.
does it manifest as a kind of a, so for example, you have the characters that over time, in a way, we hear of authors talking about, writing their characters, and at some point they have to kill their character or whatever, and that it creates a kind of a trauma almost, a sense of loss because they've invested a year or 2 or 5 living within that character. So why don't you talk about that part of being an author that is oddly, extremely emotional? Do you understand my?
Yep. Yeah, so we have a couple of characters that we that are good guys and have been very good guys, but they've reached a maturity level. They've reached an age where they need to die. And so orchestrating or writing about how they die and what their legacies are is almost part of a pre-grieving process because you know that they're going to go.
Okay.
And so, I mean, we're not kids, and so we've experienced a lot of that kind of a personal emotion that we can pull into the characters as well. But we've had several that we have lost. They're gone. But in fact, we have another character who talks to that person, just in kind of like, hey, you were so important when you were here. I just want to sit and talk to you, and that. So because that's a reality.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to talk to those that have gone before you. Sometimes you just want to bounce something off a wall. So we've done both of those things.
And a lot of times that helps another character evolve as well because their experience. You can exercise the reader's mind by saying, okay, there's obviously a loss here. How are they dealing with it? And is that how I would deal with it? Is that realistic? You write this kind of transaction carefully, it feels like you're there. You can empathize with it. So it's not just we're going to back a character. It's also how we're going to use that emotion and leverage it for building. Because it's like a conveyor belt of characters coming through storylines moving forward.
Unless it's a bad guy. We've been known to off bad guys really easily.
Okay. So have you had training in arts like theater, for example, where in theater, you really have to absorb and inhabit other characters in ways that, I mean, look, arguably it's playing make-believe, but at a depth that is far beyond, say, what a child may do, although a child will lose themselves in make-believe in a way that, say, an adult wouldn't. But do you mean, like, have you had training in drama to kind of help you better understand how to become a character?
Right. I know I did drama when I was in high school, which was not more, it was more than a few years ago.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, you kind of get an empathy for what the behavior of somebody should be, which is one of the reasons that we write well together, because we can say things to each other like there's no woman on the planet that would ever say what you just said she
Right.
said.
Okay.
And vice versa.
Right.
So that's part of how we make the voicing so even, because we can each go, no, that's not the right word. Yes, that's perfect.
Okay.
Well, my drama's been informal, girlfriends that blow up, and people shouting at me saying, Charles, why isn't this done? So that's all the drama that I need to be able to get me to write.
Got it. You just go into your happy place of
Get my comfort food, all that stuff. Yeah.
Sure. It's a how to say? So basically a collage. So it's not a photograph. It's an image of 1, 2, 3, 6, 12, 13 images. So 12 book covers: the Enigma Factor, the Enigma Rising, the Enigma Unite. So I guess these are different covers of your books. So the Enigma book series, Technology, Today's Weapon of Choice. And there's a photograph of you two. Again, probably from your, I think I can see the background looks a little bit familiar.
It's the same Puerto Rican kind of shot.
Exactly. Respect. You have all these beautiful covers. Let's talk about book covers.
So one of the reasons we wanted to send you that particular one is we did start the series some time ago. We've learned.
Mm-hmm.
And so these books are evolving into second editions.
Okay.
One, so we can review them, we can make them a little tighter, we can make them better, and we can make the covers more realistic because the original direction on the covers, because techno thrillers was not really a genre when we started,
Mm-hmm.
they ended up looking very sci-fi.
Yeah.
And so we're revising that so they look digital, but not science fiction.
Got it.
Because these are science fact.
Right. So let's dive into this whole world of, on the one hand, being an author and writing the story and creating the narrative, and then the sort of the world of publishing. So what was the biggest lesson that you learned of being a published author?
That we didn't know everything.
And it takes a team.
Okay.
That sounds trite. I admit it, but there's people that have skills that we could eventually learn to do it, but that's not our strength.
Yeah.
So the lesson that was learned was that go to the professionals for cover.
And ebooks don't have to be ugly.
Okay.
Ebooks can have color in them.
Right.
They can be bright. They can be cheerful because it doesn't cost you anything in an ebook.
Right.
Now, that's not true with a paperback necessarily. I mean, typically you don't do that unless you've got children's books going on.
Right.
But we also learned there are certain things that you can do to a book that make you look like you're a indie publisher. I mean, we're small press.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yep.
But there are things that you can do, and the first mistake we made was the books were the wrong size.
Okay.
They screamed indie publisher. It's those sorts of things that we've learned over time, and it's the other reason for going to second editions. We want to raise the level of our own professionalism.
Yeah, the title of indie publisher, I would put shabby in front of it. If it looks like it's a shabby indie publisher, because there's a lot of good indie publishers out there that have great. I mean, they must have a gang of people running on. But if it looks like it's you're printing it on a mimeograph machine, if you remember what that is.
Yep.
In the back room, and stapling it together yourself, nobody wants to touch it.
Right.
It's like this. I'm not wasting my time on it because you didn't put any time into it, and that's the fault line. You only get 6 seconds for them to be able to look at the cover and say, "Yep," and then only then will they turn it over and take and look at the synopsis on the back. And if you missed that first 6 seconds, doesn't matter how much effort you put on the inside, nobody ever look at it, and that's disheartening. And you can't do that for very long.
So, where are your books most easily available?
We're on in several different theaters. We're in the United States on Amazon.
Yeah.
UK and Amazon, Canada, Australia, Germany, France, Italy, Spain.
Oh wow.
So they're all in English, and we even have competition going on in India right now to see if we can't break into that market. So we're ambitious, admittedly.
But they're also on, Barnes and Noble. They're on multiple, at least 9 of them right now are on multiple audio book distributors, because we ended up taking some of them back to our own rights so we could distribute them out so you can get them on different platforms there. And we sell them off of our own website.
Right.
So if somebody wants to have a signed book for Christmas, we actually ship them free in the continental United States.
Right.
The overseas shipping is really high.
Sure.
To offer that for free, but we will certainly find and ship them. It just might cost a little more for shipping.
What is your involvement with the creative direction in terms of the layout, in terms of the design and everything? Or did you just say, you know what, we're going to leave it in your hands, oh designer? Like, how involved do you get?
We get really involved. So we have.
It's got our name on it.
It has our name on it, so we're very vested in it, but it also is a collaborative effort. So for the one that's going to be released on the 20th of August, we had, I don't know, just the cover alone, 9 different designs before we could finally settle on something that hit the mark for what we wanted to convey.
Right. What's the name of that title?
It is called
Flower.
the Flower Enigma, but it's the cozy mystery, so it's not technically part of the series.
Got it.
But it is called the Flower Enigma. It's on pre-order right now for 99 cents or whatever the equivalent is across the Amazon market.
Right.
But it did take a while to get the cover the way we felt it should be.
Yep.
But we have also put our ideas in and had this same designer say, "You're out of your mind. I'll do it, but you're not going to like it." So it is a give and take kind of thing to get the best.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Okay. So the point of the podcast is really about giving something, a kernel of something to the listener to say, well, maybe I could do this. Can you identify that ingredient inside you that pushed you over that hump of saying, I'm just good, or is it maybe just the discipline of working together, and that together you kind of, when somebody feels like they're having a slow day, the other person says, come on, they nudge you to kind of pick up the slack or whatever. So what advice can you give to a listener in terms of, and expand it from writing a book to anything?
So you have to want it, Rand, whatever it is that you're going for. You have to want it in your heart of hearts. And in some cases, whatever that is, whether it's painting a mural or writing a book or, traveling to some faraway distant place and hiking some mountain, you have to sometimes practice.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, team up for it somewhere. So you may not have a writing team like we are, but you may have a trainer. You may have a buddy that, okay, I want to run the marathon in Boston. I'm not going to train for that by myself. So you have to have the desire to do it. Then you have to have the discipline. So that's why we both write something every day.
Mm.
On the weekends, we tend to write more.
Okay.
And we write it once, then we write it again, then we read it again.
Yep.
You're never going to get writing, per se, correct the first time, which is why we're going through and doing second editions, because we think we've gotten better, and reproducing a book is not an inexpensive process. So we want to make sure that we're doing it the right way.
Yep.
What else?
The satisfaction of having said, I put forth the effort, and if I can do it once, I should be able to do it again and do it better.
Right.
There's always that well, I'm in competition with, and I'll stop you right there and say, no, I was always taught by my father, the only person you ever compete with is yourself. And that's important, and because for a couple of reasons. One of them is you're going to have to clap for somebody else who made it ahead of you. At some point, they will clap for you.
Sure.
If you clap. So you don't want to be so self-centered, like I want to be the best and work in vacuum. There has to be some association with other people. There needs to be that, here, let me help you. We put on a training seminar here on how to do AMS ads and invited several authors, and we spent hours going through it. Here's how you do it. And they will, I missed this part. Tell me that again, Charles. I said, here, look here. And they went, oh, I missed that. Okay, thank you. That's important for me to be able to help somebody else realize that they can do it. And that's fair.
And I think you also have to network with authors.
Yep.
You do have to be a rah-rah and a cheering section for everyone that succeeds. So if you you decide you're going to put your book out and you happen to win an award for it, and we find out about it, we'll be right there clapping for you and
Sure.
going, yay. Critique groups are another way that people can do it. Sometimes they're local. Sometimes just having feedback.
Mm-hmm.
One of the worst things that I think an author can do is give their stories to their family members.
Yeah, okay.
Because your family loves you, and your family will not tell you anything bad about what you did. They will say you did a great job. Congratulations. But you have to then, if you want to do that, you're putting yourself out there. That's hard.
Yep.
It's hard to put yourself out there. So, maybe you only do it a chapter at a time, because you may have to develop a little bit of a thick skin. Hey, but you have to be with people that are going to be constructive criticism, as opposed to like a teacher in school. You got an F on this paper. Now go back and do it again. I mean,
Right.
it's a different mindset.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I mean, this has been really great. The Enigma book series. You said the 20th. That's 3 days away. So your book's about to come out.
It is.
Well done. Well done. It's great.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Okay. I'm excited for you. Okay, guys. So thank you so much, and all the best.
Ren, it's been a delight.
Thank you, Ren. Thank you, Ren.
And especially getting up at dark 30 for us,
When? Now?
Yeah.
You're in Singapore, correct?
No. I'm in Vancouver. I'm only a couple hours behind.
Oh, I thought you...
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.